expense accounts are there in the Magnificent Seven, Catherine? What expense accounts are there in the Magnificent Seven? Which ones are expense accounts?
The direct materials, the direct labor, and the overhead.
Incorrect. What's true of all the T accounts across the top? They're all, are inventory accounts expense accounts?
Yes.
No.
No.
No, they are not. So your answer was correct, Catherine, except for one. Which one? Your original answer to my question of which one of these are expense accounts was materials, labor, and overhead. One of those three is not an expense account. Which one? And I tried to give you a little hint here.
The overhead.
No, actually, direct materials is not an expense account because it's an inventory account.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, inventory accounts are asset accounts. Go on the balance sheet, don't go on the income statement, et cetera, and so on. So both direct labor and manufacturing overhead are expense accounts. Are there any others, Mr. Hutchinson? You don't think so? There are.
I'm probably wrong.
Two.
I would say cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold, and then the last one's kind of a funny account, Brandon. Where else are expenses recorded? This is where else are expenses recorded? Income summary, yeah. Okay, so there are four accounts where you will record expenses. So I'm glad I did this because I thought this was going to be a little easier for you than it wound up being. But it's kind of useful to know what's an income statement account, an expense account, which ones are balance sheet accounts, because you treat them very differently. The ones you zero out are all the expense accounts. Because in the grand scheme of things, the income summary gets zeroed out too, does it not? Where does it get zeroed out to? Retained earnings. So all of those get zeroed. There's 4 accounts that get zeroed out. So that's very useful to know. Anything else with the T accounts? Have I talked about everything? Think so? No? Yes? Yes? No? I don't know. What's next here? Class at break-even net income is?
0.
You can do better than that. And I mean, Kristen didn't even move her lips. Class at break-even net income is?
0.
TJ, where are you, man? Not very loud though. You're one of the better cheerleaders I've had in class in terms of kind of zero sayers. So please don't forget that. How do you calculate break even in units? Mr. King. Yes, sir. Formula. This you do have to remember and memorize, if you will. You do or do not?
I don't like memorizing these equations.
Oh. I've got them memorized.
Fair enough. And I will by Tuesday.
You've got time, though. Tuesday. Yeah, it's only Thursday. So you got.
I said I'll have
Flashcards. You don't do flashcards. Brett, what page should Brett be on? 54. Brett, 54.
Fixed cost plus operating income divided by contribution margin per unit.
Fixed cost plus operating income divided by contribution margin per unit. Cody, break even in dollars, please. What's the formula?
Fixed cost plus operating income
Equals? Equals or divided by? Divided by. Very good. So fixed cost plus operating income divided by contribution margin ratio. Very good. Very good. Aubrey, how do you calculate contribution margin per unit? Thank you. How do you calculate contribution margin per unit? You got that one? You can tell Aubrey. She'd like some help.
Selling price minus variable cost equals.
That's what you're being told. But he'd be more correct if he said selling price per unit
Well, it's
minus variable cost per unit. Yes, that's what it is. You're very welcome. You're on the right track. Kind of. You're an accounting major. I hope you become a little bit better detail kind of guy. Okay, so selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit equals contribution margin per unit. Isn't that right, Scott? How do you calculate contribution margin ratio? Contribution margin by revenue is how you calculate it in total. How can you calculate it on a per unit basis? Yes, contribution margin per unit divided by selling price per unit. Very good, very good. There's also, remember, there's a horizontal version of these two formulas. Can you give me the horizontal version of the break-even in units formula, Michael? It's on the CVP intuition page, the page with the box. Don't hate it. It'll just make it worse. Don't hate it. It'll just make it worse.
This page is confusing.
But all you got to know is the stars.
I know, I put the stars there.
And these, put stars here. So there's 4 stars. And that's all you got to know.
Got the stars.
That's all you got to know. There's 4 stars.
what was the question?
It is, what was the question? What is the horizontal version of break-even in units? Do I need to stand here and kind of keep you in line?
No, you're good.
You don't know!
On the page. Somebody
You're on the page. Your left thumb's on the page. Don't jump in. Yeah, right there. It's right by your left thumb. If it was a snake, it'd bite you. It's one of those things you got to, you got your stars in the wrong place, sir.
That's embarrassing.
You got your stars. See those 2 stars by your left thumb?
I do.
The top one is incorrectly placed. And this is part of your problem.
Okay.
You want to put that top one
Yeah.
below the other star.
Okay.
And the star that you're now making, that's the formula I'm asking you for.
Fixed cost, variable cost per unit, plus operating income. It's times something.
Yeah, so we've got total actually selling price per unit times X. Yes, sir.
What is CMU again?
What's it stand for?
No, I didn't get it.
You should know now. How do you?
Selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit.
Yeah, selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. And you got it. See, that is something you are not going to have to memorize for the test. You got it. Exactly. See, I'm working at this. I'm working at this, trying to make this just as easy as possible. Yes, ma'am.
Where are the 4 stars? Because somehow I only have 2.
I added to. I had her add stars to the break even in units and break even in dollars, to the left side of the break even in units and left side of the break even in dollars formula. So you're correct. There were only 2 stars. And this might be the first time ever in the history of Dr. Fessler's class that there are now 4 stars on this page. But those are I was just trying to.
They're hopeful stars.
Yeah, she just, those 4 stars, you want to know those 4 formulas off that page. And the rest you can ignore. Okay? Oh, and so let's go back to break even in units horizontal. Selling price per unit times X equals variable cost per unit times X plus fixed costs plus operating income. Okay, in some order. Pamela, what's the break even in dollars